farther south on too. I grew up on the Eastern Shore, spent a lot of time on the Chester, and growing up as well as the Sassafras. The water, means a lot because it's how we make our living. It's omnipresent. It's always there, and it's a big, I think, driver for our economy and our culture here.
Conowingo Dam has a tremendous impact on the entire Chesapeake Bay watershed. The Susquehanna River provides about 50% of the fresh water for the entire bay system. The river flow and quality has been permanently altered because of the Conowingo Dam and how it impacts the waterway. So as a result, everything else in the entire Chesapeake watershed is impacted. The fish, the aquatic species, the crabs, the oysters, everything we know the Chesapeake Bay for is altered because of Conowingo Dam.
On the Eastern Shore here, everything's very interconnected and very tied to the water. Whatever comes out of the Susquehanna and through Conowingo Dam, because of the prevailing winds and tides, frequently washes up into the river. For a lot of this summer, anytime we get a lot of heavy rainfall, those gates are open for weeks at a time, and we have all sorts of debris and trash washing up on our beaches, in places where kids and families are playing. We have a lot of sediment and debris coming down the bay. That's a threat to our commercial watermen who are out there trying to make a living.
Right now, the dam's reservoir, or they call Conowingo Pond, is essentially full. There's no more trapping capacity left, so whatever comes in is then flushed out. Here we are, almost 100 years later. The reservoir has never been dredged. We're at a point right now where this dam is essentially a loaded cannon pointed right to the bay.
The kind of, I think, nightmare scenario for people that, live in this area and work on the water is that you get something like Agnes where the hurricane actually sits over top of the watershed. In that situation, that can be a death sentence to a lot of the upper bay species in terms of not being able to adjust quickly enough. I think it's a game of roulette where your chances are getting greater that something catastrophic may happen. And so it's important to try to mitigate all you can.
FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and FERC's job is to license dams. And in licensing dams, they need to consider the benefits of the power generated by that dam, as well as balancing the needs and interests of the environment and the economies around those dams and the people that depend on the water.
States have the absolute right under the Clean Water Act to prescribe conditions on a dam owner in what they feel would protect water quality for the next 50 years. In this case, the state of Maryland had required Exelon to pay $172 million per year, every year for 50 years to mitigate the impacts here. Unfortunately, there was a settlement agreement between Maryland and Exelon. They're forfeiting over $8 billion over the next 50 years.
The deal is essentially a sweetheart deal, but it provides no conditions in the permit that requires Exelon to do the right thing. And it allows one of the wealthiest energy companies in the country to abdicate its responsibilities for the harm that it causes by using a public resource.
It's not fair to have the most profitable utility in the country say, not our responsibility, and make everyone else pay to clean up their mess. So what we're looking to do right now is challenge that license. We've brought a lawsuit in federal court against FERC's license, and we want that to be pulled back so that we can negotiate a better agreement with Exelon and all parties at the table this time instead of one behind closed doors. We're suing on behalf of all of those who were left out of this agreement. The ordinary, everyday Marylander who's paying more on their taxes to clean up the Chesapeake Bay, for the watermen who depend on the seafood industry, and for our future generations who depend on these resources.
They are using a public resource for private profit. They have to do whatever it is that they need to do and spend whatever money that they need to spend to make sure that fish get upriver, to make sure that what's coming out of this dam is not harming water quality downstream from this dam and into the bay. And that's it.
Now, I would think if Exelon made a larger financial commitment to the cleanup efforts, caused by the dam, in terms of trapping, I think that would be not just a moral victory. I think it would alleviate a lot of fears.
As the climate changes and we keep seeing more of these severe storm events coming through, it's only going to continue to get worse from here, and we need to be properly protected because it's a major threat to the health of the rivers, the health of the bay, and the livelihoods and our whole community over here, which really is interdependent on each other and on the health of the river. So we've been dealing with it for a long time, and it needs to be fixed.